Hi, Joe Cerrone.
And Alan Rosen.
Welcome to Basic AutoCAD, CAD 116, and our weekly Zoom classroom meeting. Alrighty, so every Tuesday at 9:30 we'll have these meetings, and we'll use the same link for those. This week, Al has dropped in the outline of topics. This week we're covering Chapter 6 and Chapter 7 from the textbook, AutoCAD 2022 Instructor. Chapter 6 is on basic drawing setup. Basic drawing setup goes through how you would set up a drawing, setting up the units, setting up the template, being able to work with things like limits, snap, and grid, etc. And then chapter 7 goes through object snap and object snap tracking. And then Al's made some links to the textbook right here that you can click on and you can take a look at that. And then we have our drawing assignments. And so if we take a look at the content section, module 3, here's our drawing exercises. And so again, we put in the splash page, the learning objectives. Here's a reading assignment again, and then make sure that you keep up with the quizzes. We don't make anybody late for that, but you're going to want to look under quizzes and exams for the multiple choice questions on module 3. We'll create these 5 drawings using the plate title block, and then we have an alternative mechanical or architectural, which would be considered bonus. And so Al, you'll have to update that to make that bonus.
Okay, no problem.
And so here's the PDFs. If I click on the PDF right here, here's the module 6 PDF. And then if I wanted to download that, I can download it. And we can open that file. And then we can make that a little bit smaller. And if we take a look at that with AutoCAD, here's our AutoCAD and here's our template drawing. Remember, you can always download these plate templates. If I go here under content and we take a look at the title blocks, and then we can download our plate title block. And you can download either the template or the drawing file. I'll download the template. And then I'll open that. And so this is a layout, what's called a layout. And then if we, let's go back to our drawing itself. Basically, on these templates, you're going to want to enable the menu bar. If I hide it, it's gone. And if I enable it, it's just this line with a triangle under it, show menu bar. And the textbook lecture does a good job of telling you how to do this. And so in module 3, there's a textbook lecture on this chapter. And essentially what we want to do is we want to look at working with drafting settings and being able to enable snap and grid. We can enable polar tracking for these, but you really don't need object snap on these because it tends to get more in the way. And so I'm going to turn those off and I'm going to hit OK. And then basically what we'll do is we'll go into the drawing and we'll create the geometry for that. And so I'll create a circle like this right here. Create another circle. Circles work best when you draw them from the 12 o'clock position. And so if I go like that, or 3 o'clock, if you go on an angle, then they're not going to be on the grid. And so if I click on this and I hover over a grip, you can see the geometry settings for those. Just little tips and tricks as we get better with it. And then as we work with this, you can either draw all of them or you can start to use modify commands like copy. And we can go and copy this. Right mouse click, enter, middle mouse wheel to pan it. You could also use the pan key right here, and then we'll draw another circle. Again, if you go at 12 or 3, it works better. And then if we wanted to put in these arcs, I tend to use a 3-point arc. And so I'll look at this and I'll say, I believe it's right here, like that. And then I'll repeat the arc command. And I realize sometimes it looks easier when I do it. I've been working with this software for quite some time. And so here's our completed plate number 5. And so what we'll do is we'll go here, zoom in by turning the wheel on the mouse, double click on that, put your initials in place of the X. And then this would be plate number 5, or number 6 actually. And then you can double click on the student name, and you can put your student name on that. Green check mark here. You can also, while you're in this panel, start to explore things like the text height. If your name doesn't fit, you can change the text height like you could on a word processor. Be sure to put in the proper date. Okay, and so if we look at today, last day of January 2023, because when you work in the field, they will look at the drawings for the most up-to-date. And then you don't need to go and download the title block. You can just go to the next tab and then set up the next drawing for that. And so if we look at the drawings, I put them all in one drawing from the 1 through 5. Here's my plate number 5, and then I can look at plate number 6 actually, and then if I look at plate number 7, be this little robot face. And then as we go through and we look at some of the other plates, doesn't seem to want to cooperate. But either way, we have these 8 title blocks, these 8 plate title blocks that we'll work with. And then as we go through and we take a look at it, we have video tutorials. If you want to do the architectural lab, here's a bonus for the mechanical lab. And we could look at those videos for creating our mechanical drawing of a key plate or our architectural drawing as an elevation. But these are not required. They're bonus. They're worth 10% or 3 points. And then as we go down and we take a look at some of these other aspects of it, here's the lecture for the textbook, Basic Drawing Setup. And so as we go through, I'll go through and explain to you the chapter 6. And I'll tie that into our exercises that we created last week from module 2. Using the templates and title blocks. You should always try to use the templates for the drawing labs. And so they're already set up with the proper units. They're also set up with the proper layers and line types. And so I tie that together with how we go through the textbook lecture and tie that into our drawing assignments. Things like working with grid and snap for accuracy, being able to go with a layout or a template drawing, and being able to then work with LT scale for these different layers. And so when we draw things on different layers, we should have those like the center line layer or the hidden line layer. And then when we work with the LT scale, what that will do is it will adjust the size of the spacing between the line types. And we've got that already set up for you. This is just kind of reference material as you go through and work with the CAD system. Here's our flip screen, F2, tying it into the textbook, etc. And so that's textbook lecture for chapter 7 or 6. And then if we look at module 3, we also have the textbook lecture for chapter 7 down here at the bottom as well for object snap and object snap tracking. Alrighty, so that's our assignment for this week. make sure that you work on these 5 drawing plates and that you submit those to the assignments folder. If I come back here to the main splash page, Al's got module 3 due on February 10th, and then February 3rd, module 2 is due. Quizzes are located under the Quizzes and Exams tab, and make sure you turn in your assignments to the assignment folder, and we'll grade those and give you feedback for that. Okay, Al, is there anything else that we want to cover before I end this meeting and open things up for questions?
No, everything was fantastic.
Alrighty, if you need any assistance, be sure to email us. Remember that we have an open lab concept during our class on Sundays at the Skokie campus, room P132 at 9 a.m. With that, I'm going to end the Zoom meeting, and I'll post the recording in the announcements.